Hey there guys, it's Rusty from the Thoughts and Bubbles show. I'm here to apologise for the delay in uploading, and this is due to obligations in real life. I'm the one that edits this and records it badly, I admit, but still. So the obligations in real life, and also the length of the show. And the length is due to us getting a new host in the name of Logan Shell, who I'm sure you will enjoy thoroughly, as we do. He's a good friend of ours, and yeah, he's a permanent fixture now, so hopefully you enjoy it, and hopefully you stick around for the full thing. We'll be back to our scheduled programming and scheduled release this Thursday, when we do episode 4, so I'm going to stop rambling now, and let you guys enjoy.
Hi, Mark. Welcome to another episode of the Thoughts in Bubbles show. I am Patricia Lupi, and I'm joined today by Bashir Rusty Marjorie,
Hello.
James Arandis,
Jeep, 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 jeep.
and joining our family from now on, Logan Shell. Say hello, Logan.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Fuck. Hi Logan. I'm sorry.
You guys are in for a treat. So, Logan, talk a little about yourself so the listeners can know you.
Well, as previously stated, my name is Logan, and I know these jokers from some things that we did. As they used to say, we've all done things together. And I currently work as a teacher, but in my spare time, I read too many comic books and play way too many video games.
Are you planning on
And he
doing
doesn't
that?
always
drop the
talk.
egg.
Yeah, you plan on doing that voice for like the whole podcast? Cause
Well, there is a reason I have this radio voice, and the reason is that whenever I use my normal voice and it gets through into radio or any other technology, I sound like a high-pitched, hysterical woman, and everyone calls me ma'am on the phone, and I kind of wanted to make a good impression. At least I wanted to make sure my gender got across correctly.
Logan, you've heard the cackle out of me. I mean, I sound like a witch. You don't need to worry about anything like that.
Yes.
I'm doing this for myself. This is going to be heard someday, and I want to make sure that everyone says, "Who is that man?" as opposed to "Who is that weird lady?"
Who's that man with the glorious voice of radio? It is Logan Shell! Shit.
The
Right.
return of Dan Rather.
Wait. Is that...
So, what have you guys been up to the past week?
That's a good question. Who wants to start on that one? Has anyone got a thought?
Since you're talking, you start.
I'll do it then. Yeah, I've done fuck all. What did we do? I did a thing one day, and then it was working.
And
I
then
played
we did
Dark
another
Souls.
thing.
I played Dark Souls again. That was good. I dove back in to Dark Souls. Yeah, I didn't die, so that's good.
That is a damned lie, and you know it.
No, I did. I was only farming stuff, so I was only farming souls and running about areas and stuff, making sure I got everything. So, and I wasn't in Blighttown, so yeah, there was no way I was gonna die. But yeah. Other than that,
Okay,
I've-
now
yeah.
from our sponsor. Go, Logan.
What
What have
am
you
I?
been up to?
Oh, when you asked me to sponsor, I suddenly thought I should come up with some product that I should, hand wipes or what is it, evaporated milk or something?
A Plumbus
That
is
sounds
pretty good. Plumbuses are good.
Well, let's see here. I recently just took a break from playing Skyrim on my toaster of a machine. I can barely run it at minimum settings, but like I said, I took a break from Skyrim. I'm on my, I don't know, third or fourth playthrough on it, and I thought about picking Dark Souls back up just so that I could, invade Rusty's game and stab him in the back, but
I'm hollowed right now, so people can't do that.
that's okay. I could make a new character. But just for you, I would do this. But I've actually been working on my writing and reading some comics that I'm too cheap. I'm a real cheap son of a gun, so I tend to get my comics from the library. So I've been reading through a thick stack of those. I just finished Ron.
Part where you time traveled from 1940.
So it sounds like. Because I'm sitting here thinking,
Logan,
like,
for Christ's sakes, talk normal.
like,
Talk normal.
just embrace your voice,
We
Logan.
love you.
We do.
You are tearing me apart, Logan.
Part of me just wanted to see how
What's
this
going
would
on?
go if I just kind of broke into this weird voice you weren't used to listening to, and just see how this kind of this played out. Since you guys said you were interested in random things that were off the wall.
Just go for it, man.
All right.
You do you. James, you've been doing this.
Alright, what have I been up to? I saw Moana with my daughter, and
Oh.
it's magnificent. It is a really good movie. The music's good, the story's great, the final confrontation is really good, and it's actually, they did a really good job with representation, because they actually went out and did their research and have a whole bunch of people who are actual Pacific Islander heritage to do all the voices, except for Alan Tudyk, but he plays a chicken. And Alan Tudyk is awesome, and he can be in every voiceover.
Remember, Pixar are generally pretty good on that shit. I mean, like with Finding Nemo and that, like
But this was straight up Disney.
was it Disney? I thought it was Pixar.
This was straight up Disney, and they did a great job.
Huh.
They've become almost indistinguishable from each other in terms of quality.
Logan, for God's sake,
Look,
just
stop,
stop.
please. We can't take you. We can't take you seriously.
Who said I wanted to be
But,
taken seriously?
That's
I
a good
got
point,
to watch-
actually.
The first part of Snowpiercer, and that looks really cool. I can't wait to see more of that.
Oh, Snowpiercer.
Did you guys see Snowpiercer?
I'm gonna have to Google this to find out. I'm gonna have to use a search engine, the non-branded.
Chris Evans.
It's based on a graphic novel, is it not?
French comic book. It's a South Korean director. They're on a train on a frozen Earth, and they're trying to take to the front of the train.
Well, it's got the Captain America and the Doctor Who in it.
Oh, they got John Hurt. Before his sad passing,
Yeah.
he was.
I've just turned around. My girlfriend's rummaging through a basket, looking for something. I don't know what. What are you looking for?
Oh, and I'm all
Say hi, everyone.
caught up on Who. So far, I'm really enjoying that. It's been the best season of 12th Doctor, period.
I've just realised we've been in this for what like 10 minutes or something. We haven't talked about Doctor Who yet, so it's about time we brought it up.
Yeah.
No, I don't know the tape is.
Have you watched any, Rusty, or
No, I'll
Loopy?
bailed out.
I've dropped Doctor Who since
Logan,
season
Grandpa?
5.
Grandpa Logan.
I'm lying. I watched the 6th season, then I couldn't anymore.
Which one is the 6th season? Is that 10th Doctor?
No.
It's 11th.
Doctor.
Yeah,
Is
I
there-
also stopped watching around the time Peter Capaldi took up the tie, as it were.
Yeah, I watched the first season with Peter Capaldi, and then I didn't like the end, so I just bailed out on it.
All by myself.
Blame it on Moffat.
Right now, I'm more of
you,
a Brit
Moffat?
than Rusty.
What? What about Rusty?
I'm more of a Brit than Rusty right now, because I'm caught up and he isn't.
A lot of British people would resent that statement.
Well, then you're gonna have to fight. You're gonna have to watch it
I
then.
was gonna say, isn't Rusty technically a Scot? If we're going to be technical.
Let's not get political here.
Logan, this is not how you
Yes.
talk. Please
Yeah.
stop.
No, we got a giggle out of him. We got a squeak. So we're getting there. We're getting the real Logan out. We're gonna keep doing it until he finally emerges, like the beautiful butterfly that he is.
See, this is why I'm on push to talk.
So, Loopy, what have you been doing?
I watched The Room. Best worst
And-
movie ever.
And
Oh
one of the
my
best.
God. What?
It's so fun to watch.
It is. It's one of those strange things that just farted out into the universe that you can just.
Oh, hi, doggy.
You're my
It is-
favorite
it is-
customer.
Yeah. It is made for like Mystery Science Theater 3000. I love riffing on movies, personally.
Oh, of course, it's great.
But I
fun.
grew up on when I had like 4 channels, and that was it. So whatever you had was on. So if you found something terrible, if you could make fun of it, then it was great.
Oh yeah, I can get behind that. No, I just don't understand. Like that move. I don't understand how in my head I can enjoy a movie. It's bad. Everyone can admit it's bad. Everyone knows it's bad. But I don't know how I can enjoy a movie where literally there is a scene where Tommy, what's his character's name again? What's his character's name again in the movie?
Johnny.
Johnny. When
Johnny.
Johnny walks in,
I watched it this morning. It's fresh in my head.
when Johnny walks in to a convenience store to like what is it? He buys like chewing gum or something, or flowers or something. He just has like a couple word
flower shop.
conversation. Yeah, he walks in to the shop, has like a 3-word conversation with someone, and then walks out. That's not a scene. That's not a scene in anything ever. Like, why is that a thing? Why did that
Oh,
happen?
and by the way, there is a video game tribute. I showed it to Loopy.
I'll have that played by next
Yeah, I
week.
played it until the end.
Oh, how long is it?
It has
It's
multiple
short.
endings, and it does the complete movie, but it has alternate endings at the end.
No,
Oh.
the end is
All
magnificent.
pixelated.
Oh man,
Yes, it beats.
I'll report back with my findings on that next week then. I'm looking forward to it.
All I know is that I have a new favorite movie.
I think that's fair enough.
So, how do you feel, Loopy, about Fantastic Four by Tommy Wiseau?
I want to see this being made so
Exactly.
bad, so bad,
Exactly.
and with him as Doctor Doom.
He's everyone.
With
He's
Tommy and
everyone
Dr.
in the movie. It's the only way it's gonna work. He has to be everyone.
No, I want to see the actual actors from the first one, but acting the way he directs. So they're all talking in that really awkward, strange tone with weird things coming out of.
You're not gonna
Their
be able to get
mouths.
Captain America back, man. It's not how it's gonna
Oh,
work.
hi, Ritz.
What are you talking about, Captain America? No, not the second one, the terrible one.
They're both terrible.
The only one I'd regret it would be Michael B. Jordan would have to be doing it.
I didn't watch the new one actually.
Well, that's because it's terrible.
Yeah.
No
yeah.
one watches
It's because it's terrible. That's why.
it is absolutely terrible.
Yeah, don't get me started on Fantastic
No,
Four
do it,
and
do it,
its,
Logan.
its
Yay!
handling.
He's speaking.
I've-
No,
See, I
no.
know. See, yeah, I know, but now everyone's gonna think I'm a lady.
Just
No,
do it.
no.
I might actually waffle back and forth. People are gonna think I'm 2 different people.
There'll be Grandpa Logan, and then there'll be regular Logan.
Rant Logan.
Completely schizophrenic here. But do not get me started on Doom, because that is like, he is my favorite comic book character. I'm currently I'm a little behind, but I'm currently reading Infamous Iron Man, which is like, I love Doom.
We got the props going on. We're
I
all
love-
like way out of the loop.
I love Doom so much, and so to see him to see people just make a horrible mess. And that's actually really funny, because when it comes to the Fantastic Four films, people love to make fun of all 3 of them. And the first 2 were the only thing they got wrong was Doom.
Yeah.
And that's why the films were so bad, is because
Oh no, they had more problems than that.
I disagree. I disagree. I think that in terms of casting, they did a
Let's
fantastic. I
Bring
think
it
they
on.
did
Entire casting is a
I
fail
think-
for me.
I think they did a fantastic job with casting.
But
Again, except for Doom. I think if you if you would cast a different person as Doom, the entire film becomes a different movie. And I would also put it to you this, that the Fantastic Four themselves are not that strong of characters, maybe apart from Ben.
No.
And so, and
I
to me,
I wouldn't
in my
agree on that
opinion,
either.
Doom is actually what makes the Fantastic Four. He's the reason, like, he really is, like, in my opinion, like 80% of why people are interested in the Fantastic Four to begin with. And so, like, to get him wrong is just makes such a glaring, huge problem for why those films are just pieces of crap.
No, I think I'm of the opinion, which is why I'm going to go on a tangent here. It's still Marvel related. Ant-Man, I enjoyed that movie. What I didn't like about it is that for some reason, and I know the reason because it makes total sense, they don't want Hank Pym to be an arsehole. I want him to be an arsehole. I want Reed Richards to be an arsehole. I want them all to be arseholes. It's the point. I want them to be dicks so I can watch them do it on the screen. Oh, but never mind.
Here's what I would. My perfect Reed would be, because it always feels like no one ever knows what to do with Reed. So 2 things. Firstly, I want Reed to be a soldier again. Originally, he had fought in World War II. And partly because he had been through the horrors of war, he was like, I'm going to devote my vast intellect to make sure crap like that doesn't happen again. That's like a fantastic motivation. I would love to see Reed Richards and Ben Grimm in the trenches or whatever, it'd be in Afghanistan or Iraq at this point, and them coming out of it and being like, this cannot happen again. We need to make this a better world.
Reed originally came across kind of like, Dr. Quest almost, in a sense, and that sort of like, the cigar, the pipe smoking intellectual,
right.
And like I said, before,
the pipe smoking intellectual with the right hook.
Right, well, and to me, like Ian Griffith he looked the part, and when it came to the lines they gave him, it was straight out of was it Ultimate Nightmare? Like, it was straight out of the comics. Like, when it comes to
good.
I loved the Ultimate Nightmare.
I liked Ultimate Nightmare too, but it did not fit because that was a teenage Reed, and this was a full-grown man Reed.
To be honest, like I said, it didn't clash too much for me. I mean, I think Sue might have been a little young, but I mean, the movie really fails because here's if you boil it down, if you take away the origin story part of the film, which plays out, whatever, and the Ben Grimm stuff in the Fantastic Four, was the first one, actually had a couple of tender moments where he's trying to pick up the ring with his giant hands. Like, I mean, sure, but I mean, at the same time, like, I just remember being touched by that moment because, like, his giant rock hands can't pick up the ring that's been tossed at him. That was a tearful moment. But it was the fact that you're watching it and you're like, so the plot of this movie is that Doom's kind of bitter and he's just kind of mean, and then fights happen. There was none of the finesse of, like, actually having what you would call a plot. Like, story is king. There needed to be a scheme. There needed to be a reason for these characters to be fighting Doom. And again, like I said, the plot fell at Doom because in order to have a plot, you need to have conflict. In order to have conflict, there needs to be, like, I don't know, like more than 10 seconds put into thinking about the story. And that's Fantastic Four fell apart at the story level. And people, I think, not you guys per se, but I have read online people really just hammering Fantastic Four for reasons that, in my opinion, just. I think that people could overlook the things that they see in casting if the story had been better.
Well, no, I entirely agree with you that the writing.
I thought the story was
just for that.
But wait. Let me finish because I got to say the second half of Reed. Okay, second half of Reed. I'd have him fight like Monkey D. Luffy from One Piece.
What? Fair enough. Why not?
Because they're both stretchable,
Yeah, no, I got you.
he actually fights. But Reed is like, I'll wrap you up in my arms, and he's like, so you give everyone a big hug?
No,
this is how you fight people?
Wait, the best way to do it is you have to have them cross over with DC and make them fight Plastic Man, just so they all just wrapping each other up and see how tight they can get.
I think James was saying that that Reed should fight like Luffy. Like they should take his. They should make him. They should make him. They should make him like use his abilities
fighting.
differently. I see what you mean.
Like a brawler.
I've never been because I love Doom so much. I really don't like Reed. But at the same time, I mean, I think to me, I always just go back to.
Here's a counter argument for you, Logan. If you love Doom so much, wouldn't you want to give him a good enemy? Someone who actually challenges him?
You have the entire of the Marvel Universe to do that with.
Makes sense.
To be honest, I actually like it when Doom is facing off not with Reed, but with the rest of the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
To me, like, Doom has better interactions with the rest of the Marvel Universe, which is why it hurts. It actually gives me physical pain that Fox has the rights to all of that. Because, like, taking Doom and putting him in the MCU would just be so freaking cool. They could, competent writers and competent people could do so much with him. And after the inevitable Infinity War, I wouldn't say debacle. I just don't think that movie's going to do very well. But I don't know. We give people things to do with the Marvel Universe and some really interesting things.
When it comes to Marvel characters, I only know them from the movies, pretty much. And the Fantastic Four, I watched just the first 2 movies. I think they're okay, but compared to what we have now in terms of superhero movies, they're mediocre. So I don't know.
I agree.
I'm yet to watch. I'm yet to watch the new one. I might be as masochistic as that now that I watch The Room. But
you're not going to get any enjoyment out of that movie.
I refuse to watch it. And again, the first 2 aren't that bad. Again, like as Patricia said, they have the unbearable. They bear the unpardonable sin of being mediocre, which is, I think, terrible, because if your film is really, really, really bad, then kind of as Patricia just said, you can actually enjoy it a lot. Kind of like, was it Dragon Ball Evolution was so bad it just flipped back to being...
talk about
that. So bad that it flips back to being good, but then when your film just kind of falls in the middle and it's like, it's not that bad, but it's certainly not good, it just kind of becomes almost forgettable in some respect. And Fantastic Four, I think the first one that they did was decent. The second one was kind of goofy. But again, both of them
they fell into the whole big, like, the bad guy is a big energy cloud thing.
Well,
that's never intimidating when your bad guy is a big energy cloud.
It's true.
They were the first ones to do it. What was it? Green Lantern was the second one.
I was okay with Galactus. To me, that was like the least of the worries. Again, it was just like, what's going on with the plot? Again, are we just kind of, roaming around at random and things happen and then fights and then silliness and then it ends?
Pretty much. Oh, but before I forget, I want to bring in one more thing I want to talk about. So everyone here watched Doctor Who, right?
At some point or another, yeah.
I used to.
Has everyone at least watched the 10th Doctor?
Yeah.
Matt Smith?
Yes.
Yeah.
All his run.
David Tennant.
Oh, Tennant, okay.
Yeah, remember him and Donna Noble?
Uh-huh. Catherine
My
Tate?
favorite companion.
Yes, mine too. The thing should be like Donna Noble. Reed should be like David Tennant in that he's super smart and he gets in his head. And the thing, Ben Grimm, should be the one who uses common sense to bring him down back into the situation.
With his fists.
I could get behind that. I can certainly get behind that. That's actually how I, in the stories I've been starting to write, that's kind of the way I've approached that sort of dynamic with characters like that. Yeah.
Because I hate it when they're like, well, Ben Grimm's just a big, lovable goof, and it's like, well, then why the hell is Reed Richards friends with him? Wouldn't he want to be friends with someone who makes him better?
Well, the way I always viewed it is that he has a lot of respect for him, and therefore would never think to just leave him behind in any sort of respect.
From the first comic, it was basically they were friends. Like, what I loved about, I read the first issue of Fantastic Four, and again, it really brought me back to why Marvel, back in the day, really kind of cemented in my mind why Marvel was so good. because they would take these concepts and kind of flesh them out, and they would kind of follow things in a psychological way. And in the first issue of Fantastic Four or so, like they were friends, but Grimm is basically like, I hate you, Reed, but I'm stuck with you because you're the only person smart enough to potentially come up with a cure. And it's like, and so they have this sort of antagonism that kind of builds into, and so the relationship starts off at a negative. And the whole, again, that's what stories are made of, conflict. And so the stories are been basically almost rebuilding a relationship that had fallen apart because of this tragedy. Kind of like how a husband and wife, even if they love each other, when a child dies, like the relationship can disintegrate. This was basically, and if you read, if anyone remembers that first issue of Fantastic Four, Reed's just like, oh, let's just, hijack the ship and, jump into the atmosphere into unknown cosmic rays. And it's just the smartest guy is doing the dumbest things. And they suffer.
Yeah, that's one thing they used in the new movie. They all got drunk and jumped into the negative zone.
Yeah. And it's like, you're so smart.
Yeah, that's what happened. They got drunk. They're like, let's go into the negative zone because they aren't going to let us. So let's just do it.
But yeah, so a lot of wealth of the story, and again, those old comics age really well, even if like they're stylistically different, and some of the style doesn't age as well. But I would say the character conflict of the early Marvel stories is really classic. Sorry, what was that?
I said Jack Kirby ages well, as does Steve Ditko.
Well, I was even saying like with Stan Lee as well, and his contributions, like the pathos that they were putting in the stories, just again as you say, ages very well, even if some of the style is kind of like, oh, that's very much like 1950s, 60s, 50s,
Well, when you hear
the sexism ages super well too.
The what?
The Saxons ages super well too. Susan Storm was their secretary, wasn't she?
No. She was just basically she was like tagging along.
Was she tagging along too?
And at the beginning, she was just she was just Reed's girlfriend originally.
Right, yeah.
But she does get quite a bit of character growth as she becomes the leader of the team. And she really should be the leader of the team.
I don't agree with that per se. I like my favorite version of that particular character is I like her being maternal. Kind of, and again, the people always point to the
maternal and a leader.
People always point to the Incredibles as being like Fantastic Four done well, and
I agree.
Mr. Incredible is definitely like the alpha male leader in a sense, but he's not in some respects. But like,
who's keeping the group together? She is. He ran off on those.
It's a team effort. It's a team effort, and that's what really makes it shine. Is it's not just like I'm the leader. It's basically we're a team, and like we're a husband and wife team. And sometimes you'll be taking the front seat, and then sometimes I'll be like like when the driving scene is a perfect example of this. Mr. Incredible is behind the wheel, and they're arguing about like how to drive the car. And it just works out so well, and it never comes across as being like.
But Mr. Incredible is the thing, and
no, I'm gonna help Logan understand this a bit better. Like Logan, so what's the girl? What was her name again? Whatever. The mum in The Incredibles is the support, right? You can't have a good team without a good support. You think you don't need it, but then you realise if you don't have a good support, your entire team just fails. So technically, if they didn't have her, they wouldn't have a team. So.
Well, I mean, as a team,
would say she technically then would be regarded as the leader, in the sense that she is the most important.
I don't necessarily see it that way, because again, if it's a team, then they're all necessary. Then they're all in a sense equally
necessary. But she's the one who makes them shine the best.
Yeah, you can trade.
I don't see it that way.
You can trade,
especially for the Incredibles, and especially for the Fantastic Four. I mean, it's if anything, I would say
the Incredibles. She's the one directing them usually.
No, Miss Bob was definitely taking the helm. I mean, they were taking turns almost.
All right, well, then fine.
We'll find out if they ever make a second one.
I mean, it was a marriage. I mean, and that's what made it work. It was a marriage, and it's like in a marriage, like there's definitely gonna be times where one spouse or the other is gonna be taking the helm. That's kind of how that works, and and again, in the Fantastic Four, I'm not the biggest fan of that team anyway. So I mean, I'll probably
you know what? I think everyone in the universe can agree that the Fantastic Four is never on the top of the list of favourites.
Yeah, they're not my favorite characters either. Not that it has anything to do with it, but the talk is good. But I think we should move forward.
We have
Anyone
been doing
has
this for like
anything
20
else
minutes. 20 minutes, guys. We've been doing that for. Oh, it's bad.
If I could just add on just one concluding thought, is that Doom is the best. Doom is the best thing that came out of the Fantastic Four, and he is being horrifically underutilized right now in the Marvel properties. In terms of
I
film.
can get behind that. And
Just
Logan, do you have something to talk about your blog that you said?
Well, I did. I blogged in the past, and I did say that, you know, if you guys let me talk, then I would, you know, I did have something I kind of wanted to. I did have a small topic I wanted to run by you guys to, you know, to talk about. Just a small little thing. It's just, you know, I thought that maybe we could talk about saving the entire comic book industry. So I thought we could address that. I thought we could address that little tidbit.
A small topic.
Small topic. Little one.
So I definitely have it in my head separated into a couple of categories. But because a lot of people talk about comic books dying, and in my mind, they obviously the numbers. I pulled up some recent was it Diamond Comic-Con numbers, and it's not looking great. But it doesn't have to be. And one thing that came up, and I don't know if you guys have taken a look at some of these numbers. But print comics are the things that people tend to say are dying. And however,
are you talking all print or just floppies?
Say what?
You talking all print or just floppies?
Well, there's a general sort of like print, like people will sometimes say print itself is kind of slowly dying, but that the floppies for comics are definitely just like really just do not have great numbers. But I did recently look up that, and again, I'm not trying to get into a manga versus comic book comparison sort of thing. But that being said, because part of my mind was like, okay, well, if print medium for comics is dying as a whole across the world, then that would mean that manga sales would be really trending downwards as well. And apparently manga sales are also kind of going down. But when I looked at some of the numbers for how much a print manga could sell, it just like I was like doing a double take. It was an entire like decimal place over.
Mm-hmm.
Of just like they can sell millions of print manga still, and over here
it's a big industry there.
Right, yeah.
They do it differently.
Mm-hmm.
They do that is
all the same, but they do it differently.
That is correct. But it did highlight one particular problem, because people have been talking about, like, you know, oh, what's wrong with Marvel? What's wrong with DC? Blah, blah, blah. But it occurred to me that, you know, before even getting into issues about storytelling, and on my blog I talk about visual storytelling specifically and structure, and then whether or not the political views of the authors have anything to do with it. But before even touching any of that, I wanted to just bring up one particular thing, one feeling that I had about the comic book industry, and kind of just, you know, ask you what you thought about it. And it's this: buying comic books at their current price point feels bad. Buying comic books, going into a comic book store with, like, you know, $20 no longer feels good. Earlier, when you could, and I remember when I was in my graduate degree program, and I went to the comic book store, and I was able to get some okay value out of $20. I was able to buy, you know, 4 or 5 comics or so, and it was like, ooh, I have 4 or 5 comics, but now, as comics get more and more expensive, as they reach, was it almost $5 or $6 a pop, the content, it feels dirty, and it doesn't feel like I'm getting my value or a good amount of value for my buck. So, like, because if you break it down, comics are what? They're like 20-something pages, 22 pages.
24, 26.
And that's still including the fact that you're getting ads in there, so you're actually paying for ads, which also feels good, right?
Yeah.
And so if you break it down, it's almost like you're paying like $1 for every 4 or 5 pages, and when you take that $20 and you buy like maybe like a cheap video game or something, like a used video game, and you can get hours of entertainment from that, or you buy a DVD and you get at least 2 hours of content, and then you buy a couple of comics and you spend $10 and you read through them in 30 minutes.
One afternoon.
Yeah, 30 minutes perhaps. It doesn't feel good, and there's even something just about holding the money. And just knowing that, because again, if you could walk in with a $20 bill and you could walk out, if comics were like cost half as much, if you could walk out with like 10 comics for $20, it just feels different. It feels better to walk out with a bunch of content, and I feel that comics are suffering, not just because of storytelling or politics or all the other things that you could talk about, but to me they're suffering hard because it no longer you could easily spend $50 in the comic book store and still not get a whole lot of value. You could read it very quickly, and buying a trade paperback doesn't feel that great, because a trade paperback could be $18 for, again, something you'd read in about an hour. And the only time I have felt good buying comics have been when I bought. I went to I don't know if you guys know, it was Mr. kind of like a Mr. K's type used bookstore, and you buy some of those used big graphic novels, and you can buy half a dozen of them and buy them really, really cheap when they're on clearance. And that was the only time I really felt like I was getting the right value for my dollar. And to me, that illustrates, I think, at least in my mind, a potentially deep issue with the industry.
Yeah, that's the way I buy
What
physical
are you
copies
buying?
of comic books.
I mean, yeah, when it comes to buying
When
physical,
you're getting those graphic novels, what are you buying?
Oh, Tim, I will buy just about. I usually try to buy a little bit of everything. I've been partial to Marvel in the past, but my recent purchases, I was just buying anything that was super cheap and on clearance. Like if it was really cheap, if it was $1 or $2, I bought it. The last time I went to the used bookstore, so I ended up with a whole bunch of just random stuff and some Dynamite books and some Boom entertainment books. But it was just the fact that it just when you're buying a book, and you're gonna read, you want to know that you're gonna not just be done with it in 10 minutes, and that you've spent a large amount of money, because buying just a prose novel, you can spend $5 or $6. You could get a novel that'll last you for months, perhaps, and you just don't get the same feeling when you buy current graphic novels and comics. It just, like I said, to me, it feels dirty. And it makes me hesitant to buy and spend more money, and that's, in my mind, creates a problem, because normally you would want your customers to want to spend more money.
Yes.
But
I have counter arguments. However, I don't want to hog this all myself. So does anyone else have any counter arguments first?
I don't have any. Honestly, I just have the way I see. Yeah, I don't see issue by issue comics physically working anymore. To me, the best way for comics to save themselves is just to forget about having to mass produce physical copies of an issue, put them all online, and then eventually, when you've got enough to compile an arc or something like that, just sell physical copies of volumes. People are more likely and are more happy
as a hardcover.
Yeah, even paperbacks, whatever. Just give people the option to have, if they want to own an entire physical copy of an arc, they will do that. They will pay money for that, and they'll be happy with that investment. They won't be happy spending five. I don't know. I can't say I've bought one in a while. It's probably gonna be
Last
$5 or
I knew
$6.
they were $2.99 to $3.99, edging on $4.99.
I was gonna say Marvel books, I think, have some, because I know the Inhumans versus X-Men was about $6 an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, triple that for me. Triple that value for me.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
just
Anybody
That's how
else?
much I pay for comic books around here.
Well,
I don't pay anymore.
Rusty, currently they do the bundling, like about 6 issues, I think, is a current trade paperback. They'll bundle about 6 issues a piece. But again, those run about $18, and that still feels dirty to buy for me because I'm like $18 again, to me, it just feels better. Again, I actually haven't purchased a manga yet, but when I actually have thumbed through a manga before, and I'm like, oh, this is like $4 or $5, and it's like 180 pages. That feels there's something about, oh wow, it feels good. I'm gonna pay $4 or $5. I've got 180 pages of content, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna spend $18. And I know, especially with Marvel, because Marvel books you can kind of read them faster because DC books pack more dialogue in. I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just saying that like Marvel books read faster, and it's just like, man, I'm gonna read through this in 45 freaking minutes. I'm gonna spend $18.50 and almost $20. It just doesn't feel good, and it's just it runs into the same problem for me, which is just I'm not getting in my opinion, I'm not getting a good return on my dollar.
Okay. Counter argument time. You need to read more Image, because for one thing, Image is doing really well, especially in trade paperbacks. I believe, what was it? The Walking Dead, I believe he's selling like 8 million copies an issue. 8 million.
Idea.
Well, not per issue. I don't think. That has to be like total sales.
And yeah, I have to remember that's coming off the back of a TV show that people have got a cult following for.
No, this was prior.
Did they?
Yes, and this is also with Europe sales.
Oh, okay, so that's just America, so that's like worldwide.
Yes. Second thing, there are some magnificent comic books. I am reading Saga. If you read Saga by, who is it? Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples, it is gorgeous to look at, and it's wonderful to read. And the thing is, even when you read it, you then want to go back and read every other one you have to see how it all ties in together. It is wonderful.
Right. So I guess the thing I was bringing up, that I'm talking about, though, is that I'm saying regardless of how good the story is, the price point for a lot of comics right now is just making it so that it doesn't feel good. Even if I purchase a book and I kind of like it, I think the last couple books, what was it? There's one called Mind the Gap, and it was actually like each issue was like 40 pages, and that didn't feel so bad because it's like when you bought it, it was longer. But like to me, there's just a feeling, and it's kind of weird because it's like there's that like again, I keep using that term like $20, $1, because like I'll spend $1 on anything. Like, if I were to walk into a store and they had comics and they were all $1, I would buy just about anything. And then if I found something great, I could really commit to it. But if you're going to ask me to spend $4 or $5 or $6, which is getting almost the cost of a movie ticket, and a movie ticket is a guaranteed 2 hours of content, to me, a comic that's charging $6, I'm like, well, do you have 2 hours of content? Because if you don't have 2 hours of content for me, paying $6 doesn't feel right. It just feels nasty. It just feels dirty.
Necessarily the quantity as the quality. That's the reason I brought up Saga. And there's also some wonderful, wonderful indie comics like Sherbert Locke by Michael Vincent Bramley, who's a friend of mine. That's like 100 pages. You can find it on Amazon. We'll try and put up a link. I'm sorry, folks, but it's wonderful. And it's like 100 pages, and it's like $20 on Amazon. And then there's, what is it? Serenity Rose, which is like 350 pages for like $20, $30. And it is it's in 3 books, and it's all together. And the first book is like better than any webcomic you'll read. And the second book is better than any comic you'll read. And the third one is better than anything you will read. The art is that good. That one's by Aaron Alexovich. So it's
just one
yes,
question.
The big.
You guys pay $6 for a movie ticket?
Oh, we
no.
pay $11 for a
No,
movie
yeah, I
ticket.
was gonna say, I said once you paid $6, you're getting closer to a movie ticket. I mean, if you get, well, I would also say that like it also depends, like, because you could get a matinee ticket for about $6 or $7 if you go to the right theater. So like, if we're talking about evening prices, then yeah, it's like $10 or $11 on average, depending on where you live. But a matinee ticket you could get from 6 or 7, I think, depending on where you're at.
Sounds about right.
It's about a tenner over here for us for a ticket.
But the other thing is, the big two only sell one thing. Pretty much.
I mean, I read indie comics as well. I have, my mileage varies with them.
With indie comics, though, you're also going for people who are trying a lot harder to put out good content. So I always give them like the benefit of the doubt. It's like if you're trying really hard, and even better when you're trying really hard and succeeding, that's worth a little bit of extra money. Because I've read Marvel comics where I went, they switched artists halfway in the middle of this.
Oh yeah, I hate when they do that. But that's usually because like was it? I remember I was reading. I think it was even a Mike Diodato issue, and halfway through it changed, and it was like, well, it's because I guess Mike works too slow for their schedule. Yeah.
If people are really trying hard, I will support quality over quantity any day of the week.
Well, I guess I'm just a cheap son. I guess I'm just a cheap son of a gun. Because to me, the price point.
Your method would work is if we go back to newsprint, and I guess we go like manga studio, so it all is the very simplistic style, so we can mass produce it really fast. Then we could probably cheapen it up.
Well, I mean, there's also the fact that I think, I mean, again, these would be questions for I guess people who are more into the printing side of the industry, but what approaches they could take to address this. And so, like I said, it is kind of an open question, but the manga method is an interesting way of thinking about it.
Well, it's black and white. It's half as many pages. And they're smaller.
What do you mean half as many pages?
Well, I was going to say they have more pages, though.
Yeah, they do have more pages.
Well, it's usually less content. It's stretched out over more issues.
No. Not.
Yes. Read D. Gray, man. That shit is stretched. One
specific one
will be like 8 bytes.
Are we talking about like decompression? Okay, so before we get into the decompression style of manga, which is an excellent point to bring up, and is a strength and weakness of the Japanese comic method. But I think it's interesting to think about, though, because it's the fact that people keep saying, "Oh, comics are dying," and I'm like, well, manga still sells. Like, I think if I'm quoting right, some of their like One Piece manga stuff like sells this is like 2 million copies, and I'm like, Amazing Spider-Man last month sold 50,000. I mean, holy crap, there's a difference there.
And I'm like, well, that for that is bad sales for One Piece right now as well.
And I'm like, I mean, and again, I do not want to get into just the comics versus manga debate, but at the same time, I'm like, in my mind, at minimum, it tells me that there is a potential that you could sell more if you changed how you did a few things. Not just like, oh, you need to just become like manga. No, but I'm like...
You also need to blame Wortham, though.
No,
the whole seduction of the innocent thing. That has hurt comics in America for decades.
That is true. Culturally speaking. But right now, comics are like, like I said, it is cool to like comics. Like, I think we have outgrown some of Wortham's problems. But again, like I said before, back in the day, like if comics would do a promotion where like all of the publishers from Image to Marvel for just like 3 months, all the comics were like $1 to $2, and you could just walk in with $20 and buy tons of content. I think it would inject more health into the industry than a lot of things that are being considered. I think, and it's just again, I'm just pulling stuff out of the air here.
One other alternative is to go the manga way, except online. You could or print. I don't know. You could do for those who don't know Japan, how they publish manga in Japan, they put out once a week a 1,000-page phone book that they call a manga, which is an anthology of several mangas, several different mangas, and people buy that for really cheap because the material is really cheap. It's a phone book. It's comparable to a phone book, and what?
That is an interesting point. Like, and part of me is like, I mean, yeah, we do want the quality to be good.
When you like one series that is published within that anthology, you will buy the material of that anthology. They launch the compilation of everything later. That could happen in the Western part of the world as well.
The only thing I would see with that would be a problem at all, though, is you'd be using cheap paper, black and white, and we have been spoiled for a long time.
I don't think the material would really matter to many people. The colour maybe, but the material I don't think they'd really care.
I was just about to concur with Rusty. Could we potentially do something? Not we. Could they potentially do like maybe a downgrade in the paper quality and like keep color? Like I'd compromise on that. Like I don't need the super glossy pages.
If you like the kind of color from old comics, then yeah, potentially you could, because you gotta worry about bleeding and you'd have to use the Ben-Day dots and everything else.
That is an interesting point, and I would say honestly that's one of the strongest counter arguments to kind of some of the things I've been bringing up is just the fact that James, you are very correct when you say we've been spoiled on the color quality. And I wouldn't just say quality, but definitely the color quality. And so to go back on that, I
remember when people were like, glossy pages are the shit.
I do remember this conversation as well, actually.
That could be done online as well. Have a website where everything is published on a weekly basis, and then sell the compiled editions later. On a
sell big anthologies online for cheap.
So
digital only.
Yeah, digital only is the way. I mean, think like in my experience of this, like I think out of all of us here, I'm the least into buying comics and actually going in to read them because I do other stuff mainly these days. But like I picked up a bunch of issues of Injustice. Injustice sells 99 cents an issue on Comixology. We're not branded. We're not sponsored. That's just where I got that. But yeah, like 99 cents. I picked up a bunch of them. Loads of content, There's loads of stuff to read. I wasn't just sitting with one, hoping that like, okay, I need to wait till the next one comes out. I spent like $3 on that. That's kind of shit. No, I bought like a block of 6, and I'm like, cool, I'll read those. And then they're still up there, 99 cents. Just go pick up some more. Like
that was the point I was just going to make though. Is that Rusty? Like it feels good to eat and to like pick up a bunch of comics for 99 cents. Why don't they do more of that? Why are these comics like almost $5 or $6 again for the new Marvel books? They're $6.
Comics floppies are still valuable, not as like reading material, but as like as like savings account basically.
Oh, you mean the speculation market?
Yes. That is what their whole purpose is. That's why Image puts out variants, not because they're like, ooh, let's sell a whole bunch of variants. It's that people want variants. People will buy variants because they hope it will be worth money someday. Floppies are basically zombies. Yeah. Floppies are basically zombies, but they're just floating around because of the speculation market. The future is digital and, like,
if I could say anything,
still love old comics.
Oh, sorry.
Just if it's big set.
I do hate the speculation market aspect of comics. The only thing that I like about it is the fact that you can get a lot of cool like artwork on covers. That's kind of neat. But other than that, I hate the speculation market aspect of comics. I think it really does more damage than it helps.
Yep. Although without it, we wouldn't have had Image, so it can't be all bad.
I mean.
Yeah, but with that, you have the Cabbage Patch Kids effect. Oh, Beanie Babies.
I mean, I mean, in my mind, like, there are, like, especially on the store side of things, where like people like, because I hate the relationship where companies try to trick stores into buying more comics than they should, because, oh, this is going to be a big issue, and then, you know, try to sell that lie to your readers that one day this will be worth something. And so what inevitably ends up happening is that the bookstore buys way too many of Inhumans versus X-Men variant cover number 2, and they try to push that onto the customers, and then some customers buy it, and then it never makes any more money, and then they end up with a bunch of the extra comics that they just can't sell. And ultimately, some of those comic book stores have, in fact, gone out of business because of these practices. They're bleeding the industry dry. Oh, again,
they aren't in grocery stores anymore.
That's true. Yeah. What was it? Was it Dixon? Was in a podcast brought that up, that they don't.
The only one that still is Archie.
Archie, yeah. It was basically Archie was still sold. Chuck Dixon brought that up. He said that Archie is still sold in the grocery store, and he said comics, they became a boutique industry, and that
killed us. Between the speculation in the boutique and Wortham saying everything but superhero comics were bad, the American comic industry was butchered. That's why Japan and Europe are like doing all these amazing things, and many other places, because they never experienced that, or at least not to the same.
All right, guys, I don't want to conclude, James. Conclude, James.
No, I got that. Was basically it.
Oh no,
Wortham
I think
said-
I don't want to.
if we should round this up in a nice way, like how we should all suggest what we think could be the thing that could, without changing the business model or anything like that, what we think would just save the industry of physical copies, without changing the business model, without changing the pricing or anything like that. What do we individually think would do that? Me personally, I can't actually think of anything because I'm a cynic and I can't get over that. Just go digital.
Right.
Just go digital.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think without changing the model you can actually save the print copies. I don't think because I think the comics have tried so hard. I mean, and in my mind, I would love to see some people experiment with the models of print and see what life you could still get out of it. Because I think people are saying just digital. And I, by the way, fully behind digital. But part of me is like, I wonder if someone could try something different in the print models and maybe find, tap a vein somewhere, and sell a bunch of copies by finding a cheaper way to produce the content, maybe manga style, not manga production style, not manga art style. Like do an American style superhero comic, but print it like a manga and just see what happens, because when people can purchase it for cheaper.
Actually,
yeah, in my opinion, it's the need is a hybrid of the manga industry and the digital. Make the anthology style digital. Then you sell the print copies, the physical copies. If you want to keep on doing, that's it. Because if you will read it digital, if you really like it, you are going to buy physical.
Actually, I think what they could do is that they're already putting out these issues. Like we'll stick with just the big two right now, right? So Marvel and DC are putting out these issues for whatever they're doing, whenever they come out. Because apparently my brain's taking a blank and I can't remember how often comics come out. I want to say weekly. That sounds right. Why don't they just physically like all the issues that are coming out that week or month or whatever, put them all in one book, like manga do, and just have them there to purchase. So then the price you're paying for it seems justified. You have all that content, and then like the next week after that, put all the single issues out from that issue for sale, along with another block. So then people who want to own the actual physical copy of one of the individual issues can have that. And then they also have this anthology thing that people are actually picking up and spending money on, and they can bump up the price a little bit as well from the amount of content that's in it. There you go.
How about you, James?
Okay, so, well, I think digital for floppies is the future. I think graphic novels will be fine, because books pretty much are fine. People are like, well, it's the death of print. Books are still selling. People love books. People love owning books. Same with graphic novels, because it's bigger story, so people enjoy it. And people will still want to say, these are my books on my shelf. Now, if we really wanted to save the floppy, or some form of the floppy, the only way I could imagine it working would be to some degree bring it back to the way it was in the 1940s, which was put it on newsprint, use cheap coloring. Though, what was it? Action Comics and Detective Comics and comics like that were like, I think it was 60 to 100 pages. So it was 60 to 100 pages with sometimes little prose pieces, a number of different comics ranging anywhere from like superhero to western to romance to everything, and had advertising.
And in a four-color scheme.
Yeah. So I'd go with a big anthology with cheap paper, maybe cut it down to tankobon size, cheap colors, and have it be like a buck and have everything else paid for by the advertisements inside. Basically almost like, you know those things you get, the free flyers from wherever. It's like your local community. Maybe Logan knows. I don't know if you guys have that, but we have the cheap newsprint. Yeah. What's happening in your area kind of dealies.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you mean Town Tutor?
Yeah, Town Tutor, whatever they call them. There's millions of them.
See, the thing is like I would buy that. Like if you had, if you
like
were,
a buck, and then there you go.
You were selling that for a buck, I would feel so good buying that. And I mean, and if the stories were good, like they were current level stories, I mean,
they all have to be good. You just get 5 or 6 good ones out of the bunch, you'd still be ahead.
Exactly, exactly. And again, to me, that was the beauty of comics. It was the fact that you had a bunch. I mean, there would be a bunch of crap in there, but it wouldn't be like. See, nowadays it's like you go in with that $20, and if I buy 3 comics and I hate 2 of them, I feel terrible. Because I just spent $12 on those 2 $6 issues. Like, oh my gosh.
$3 to $5. And
holy cow, yeah. But like with something kind of like what you're saying, like it would feel good again. Comics would feel good again. And like I said, that's been like the thing that's really just been kind of like giving me the hang-ups. It's just like buying comics doesn't feel right. that's a problem for me.
All right, guys, we're past an hour and we still have a lot to do. Let's go for our nerd news.
Oh yeah, we actually have news to talk about. Well, do we have anything really to talk about other than the trailers?
There's the acting coach that was hired for the actor playing Han Solo.
Wait, what?
Apparently,
what about him?
The producers, after firing the directors, they watched the tapes of the guys acting. What's the guy's name? I haven't noted. Just a second. Alden Ehrenreich. I think that
Ehrenreich.
Alden Ehrenreich.
Ehrenreich.
Ehrenreich. They hired him an acting coach because they didn't like his performance. I'm quoting the site I got the news from. Now I don't know which site it is. I have to find the link. His performance was akin to Jim Carrey playing Ace Ventura.
Magnificent.
Just one thing to say. I have a bad feeling about this movie.
Well, you didn't have a bad feeling when we talked about the directors getting cut.
Did you know Rob Howard is doing it now? Ron Howard?
Wow.
What?
Yes.
This movie's
Yeah,
gonna
Ron
suck.
Howard.
Remember for this guy is Cocoon.
This movie's gonna suck.
Wait, what?
Ron Howard is now doing the movie.
No, I'm not even being super judgmental, but when you can see a film and its history and like during production they have this many problems, it usually doesn't like it usually is not good news for the final product.
Man.
I'm holding out hope that this is all just going to be a big thing that eventually, like, when they're saying it's going to be released a month beforehand, they're going to turn out and go, oh, by the way, guys, we're not actually doing a Han Solo movie. This is all just publicity. This is the movie we're doing, and then it's going to blow everyone away. I'm going to stick to that delusion and hope that it comes.
I was going to say you have fun in the Matrix there.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I can't. Well, I mean, we can talk. We can talk about. We can talk about.
Did we break Rusty again?
No, I'm fine. I'm here. I'm good. We can talk about the trailers quickly. I mean, I don't personally mind this running along. I think people.
Which trailer do you want to start?
That's a good. How about we take a vote?
Jumanji?
We take a vote. So, who's all for Jumanji? To go first.
I mean,
I think they all equally look bad, so whichever one you pick
that's
is
not
fine.
fair. That's not fair. That's not fair. There's devil's advocate shit. You know what I mean, James? We'll do that.
I'm gonna be devil's advocate.
I'll do it
I
with
think
you,
they
James.
both have potential.
Fine. We'll do
What?
Jumanji first then, because I think both me and you, James, are gonna be on the same side here, possibly.
Okay.
So,
So do you want to hear against first or for first?
I think we should hear the against because Logan seems to think it's terrible, and so does Patricia. I want to hear. I want to hear.
Logan.
I want to hear.
I'm in the middle.
No, I want to be rebuttal this time. You go first.
Okay. Right. Well, I mean, if you think about it purely trying to live up to the old movie, the original Robin Williams and everything, I think you have to try and just get that cognitive dissonance and just forget about that movie for a minute. Because as soon as the trailer kicked in and I saw, like, you know, this is a video game now, we're in the modern age. Ooh.
Well, modern age of the 80s.
You know what I mean? It's like...
Because that was an old-looking system that looked like, what was it? Atari 5200.
It looked like
Oh, really?
an
I
indie
thought
game.
it looked like a Super Nintendo, but...
Oh, I didn't even see this.
It's like
Honestly,
wood
I didn't see the
paneling.
console. I didn't see the console.
Maybe it was the controller. I think the controller looked like a Super Nintendo.
That could be.
Well, I
I'll
mean,
give you that one.
They're probably going with the same angle that it's just an old game and an old system that they found and
Oh,
they're like, oh, there you go, let's try this out then. So like, but yeah, I mean, personally, I'm probably going to be completely on my own with this one, but I think, except from a few people that I don't understand why they're in it, the casting can work for how fun the movie should be.
Yes.
I agree.
Jack Black's good.
Yes.
Dwayne The Rock
Rock's been killing
Johnson
it.
is good.
Yeah.
Aaron Gilliam is wonderful. I haven't seen a lot of
Kevin Hart's
Hart.
not too bad. He can do what they want them to do, and do it well.
There we go. All right.
Nick Jonas,
So,
though, I didn't
since-
understand why he's in the fucking film.
So, Rusty's waffling a little, so I'm going to put down solid reasons why this will be good.
Please do.
One, it is not Jumanji again.
Yes.
First Jumanji was stuff coming into the real world. This is they go into that world. Secondly, the major thematic point is different. The first story was a man who has a boy who has a tough relationship with his father, and children who have tough relationship with their aunt because they lose them. It was the thought of loss. This movie is about identity. Your identity that in the real world, and then you lose that identity, being the pretty girl now being a fat old man, and the mousy girl being the hot girl, and the nerdy guy being the big guy. It is now about identity and how your outer side matches your inner side. The third point, the most important point that you do not see in the trailer, is that this is a semi-sequel. They find evidence of little Alan Parrish, who got sucked into the game. They find things like his little notes from him, a treehouse. It's a little bit of an homage to Robin Williams in a semi-sequel.
Well, did you ever watch the cartoon they did for Jumanji?
Oh, never
There
watched
was a
it.
cartoon?
There was a cartoon. It was done by the same. It was done by Nick. It was the same team that did the Wild Thornberrys.
Never heard of it.
It was actually amazing. It was basically they did the same. It was still Alan Parrish and all that, and I think it was still the same two kids. But it was in the game. Like they actually got sucked into it, and they were just in Jumanji, just roaming about the jungle doing some stuff. Yeah, just surviving.
Okay.
So like this is more akin to what that was, and that show was actually pretty great. So
So they might have some material to back them up too.
oh yeah,
So go Logan, bring down our sunshine.
go on.
That's okay.
I'll go last.
I want Patricia to go. I want to go last.
Okay, I'm divided. Seems like a fun movie. It does. The casting is great. I've seen all four of them. I like all four of them, but it's not Jumanji anymore.
How do you mean?
Uh
The game in the first one.
It's just it's a different perspective on it.
Yeah.
it's mostly nostalgia talking, but I don't know. I don't see it.
At least you're honest.
It's a fun movie on itself, but it's not Jumanji.
Well,
I don't see it that way.
how
The,
would
the gist of the first one was all the crazy stuff happening in the real world. Now it's reverse. I don't know what to think yet. If I have the chance, I'll go watch this movie and I'll take my more serious conclusions when I watch it.
Can I take a little retort, kind of rebuttal to that?
Of
Not a real one.
course.
No, right. Basically, when I watched the original movie, for the first time, and the many other times I watched it after that, the thing that got me about it wasn't that stuff was happening in the real world. It was the things that came out of the game. That shit existed in some place, and there was worse shit in there. There was other things that you never got to see that were somehow worse than everything that was already happening. Like, there was a whole world you didn't get to find out about. And this movie
And the only
is
one who
giving you
knew
the
about
action.
that was Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Because he knew that Hunter dude. He, knew
yeah.
him well.
He's in the cartoon as well, by the way. He's like the recording.
Then I'm going to
Yeah,
have to check
yeah.
out.
All right. So basically, my thoughts on it mostly have nothing to do with the remake portion of the film.
Okay.
They have to do with the film itself. So to me, just the fact that it's a remake, I think tired remakes are just dumb. But that's personal. But to me, the film itself looks like the quality level in terms of story, characterization, and acting of like a Captain Planet cartoon. Oh my gosh!
Wow.
Like and it's that one episode where they get sucked into the 8-bit computer game and they have to like fight their way out of the computer game and oh look, I'm different now, and then it's like, or like was it Spy Kids 3D Game Over, and I'm just like, to me, because like the acting looked atrocious. The acting looked atrocious. And it was, to me, it was on the level of the film itself. Now, at the same time, if you look at it in terms of like, oh, this is a movie for kids, I can give it maybe just like a little bit more rope. But at the same time, I mean, we criticize movies just in general, and if it's got bad acting, it's got bad acting.
I wouldn't say the acting was that terrible. Like, from what we've seen in the trailer, I wouldn't say it's that.
Well, the kids were bad, and again, just to me
They
also like this. Well, let me finish. So like, and also I would also say this is a small difference of opinion with James, is the fact that because they're making the movie about identity, I think that's a very tired trope at this point. And again, like I said, it comes off the way they're playing it. It comes off, like I said, with all of the emotional pathos of a Captain Planet episode, which just makes me roll my eyes. And the last point I would make is this. This is my last point, basically, is that this entire intellectual property is based off of a very good book. It's a picture book, which is again got some amazing art, and it's about an old board game. To me, them setting it in a video game, Jumanji. Now again, having a story that takes place in a video game is whatever. But to take a board game story, and again, I love board games. This violates for me several layers. Why
couldn't they have found a board game?
Because you wouldn't be able to have the mechanic of you are now a character. You would just be the piece. You could.
You could play the little pawn.
Rusty got to rebut Patricia, so I'm going to rebut Logan a little bit.
So the last thing for me is sorry, I'll wrap up. The last thing for me is the fact that it violates for me so many things, and it reeks of that sort of corporatist nonsense that's like, oh, kids are into video games, so like we need to have a story with like, you know, modern updating. And I'm like, no, you could do the classic board game. There's a mystique about that board game that's really nice, and that plays off well.
I agree with you on that point.
Okay. Counter argument. 1, video games are board games that turned into video games are a thing.
Oh yeah.
2, what child would be like, what, sweet, they're breaking out a Super Nintendo or a Atari 5200. I totally would want to play one of those as opposed to a PS4 or Xbox 3, or what is it, not 360. Now I'm acting old. Xbox One.
There you go.
So it's not really super new. It's new as of like 30 years ago. So it's the new nostalgia of, remember you played board games and that was like 30 years ago in the 90s. Now you got something that's 30 years ago in.
Yeah, but retro gaming is still big now. Like I said, they're just now releasing the new Super Nintendo emulator console thing. So that's to me that point.
Big for old people.
Kids are still. I would disagree
who
with
have
that.
kids.
Yeah, well,
I would disagree with that.
I get it for my kids, but my kid isn't saying I want to play this game. I want to go check it out. It's super cool.
Kids love playing. Kids I know love playing Flappy Bird and Angry Birds, and that's not like modern console. That's almost the equivalent of just, you know, side scrolling.
Yes, but they could have went with the Jumanji app. They did not do that.
They didn't. That's true, and I can respect them for that. But then again,
Yes.
they might still do it, so we can't respect them too much.
That'll be 30 years from now. That'll be the app. Someone will find an old phone and pull up a game, and we'll have the Jumanji app on it.
And that's what happened right at the end when they get out. Someone will find the app.
Last thing, the whole identity thing. Well, the whole not getting along with your father is cliched too, but they did a damn good job with it.
I understand that. I'm just saying the way they were handling it looked very, like
It's
I said,
it
looked like an after school special, and I'm like, great, this is a blockbuster film. But let's move on and talk about the other reviews.
Inhumans.
Let's save Inhumans for last, because I think that one had some positivity behind it. Let's talk about Death Note.
Oh, can we rag on Death Note? Can we do this, please? Please, can we do this?
I'm going to be devil's advocate on this one too.
Why? Why would you do this? Why would you do this for anyone? No. Oh.
I have only one question about the whole production of that Death Note.
Uh-huh.
They whitewashed the entire cast of Asians, and then they blackwashed the only white guy.
I don't agree with that statement. Because it's a different production team doing a different take on it. It's not in Japan. So they haven't whitewashed. They're taking another take on it.
I agree with you. I agree with you, Patricia. I think that I agree personally. I mean, by the way, and I also agree.
I'm okay.
I agree with both of you in a sense.
I'm
I
okay.
think
The school is in the USA. Cool.
I'm okay. I agree with both of you to an extent. I think that at the same time, while they're allowed to do, update whatever, at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of just like pandering in terms of like, oh, we need to find, a particular race and, get diversity. And so, of course, we're going to do X. Again, at the end of the day, the guy they got, whatever race they got, he's a terrible actor.
Oh, yeah, he fucking is. Oh, God.
He was delivering the lines like in the most wooden way possible. No. So it's, again, to me, that does more damage to diversity than anything. Because it's like, oh, we cast a different race as this character, but we got a terrible actor, so that's not going to help diversity.
It's even worse than that. It's it's literally a person that seems to have seen the subject matter, what this is based on, and took that character in a completely wrong direction. Like, he seems to have took him as just this... I don't even know. Like, it's a way that I've never seen anyone think L is, and then they've went, all right, that must be. This is how he is. He's a very autistic person, but in a way that doesn't work. In a way that doesn't work. What?
At least they could have made L British, because L is British in the manga.
Mm-hmm.
L should have been Idris Elba. There we go.
Idris Elba for all the roles on the Death Note.
All the roles.
I could go Idris Elba
Okay,
as
question.
anyone else in the
Question.
movie.
Who here has seen The Departed?
The Departed.
The Departed.
No.
Who here has seen The Departed?
No.
The movie, The Departed.
No.
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 No one?
I know of it. I haven't seen it though.
Nope.
Is your point about Death Note
Yeah,
relevant
it is
to this?
connected to that because I thought, oh, these people would love good movies. All right. Who here's seen this? Was it The Magnificent Seven?
The new one
Uh,
or the old one?
I seen
I saw-
the original.
Yeah, I saw the
The
original.
Japanese original.
Oh,
Who's
you mean
seen
Seven Samurai?
Oh,
Yes.
yes. The Departed with Jack Nicholson and Leonardo DiCaprio and all those is based off of a Chinese movie. It's a remake. And the new version is just as good as the old one.
Right. The only thing.
And Fistful of Dollars is Yojimbo from Japan. And it's a wonderful movie. And The
Again,
Magnificent Seven is The Seven Samurai, and
That
it's
is
a wonderful
correct.
movie.
However, each of those movies is in fact a good movie, and Death Note looks like it has the acting of like a C.
It's not even about the
I mean-
acting. It's the direction they are taking this. They have they're just.
I'm talking about the race issue, and my stance is unless they call him Light Yagami and set it in Japan, and he's a white dude, I don't have a problem.
No, they're not going to call it. They'll call him
Like they
Light
did
something
in King
else.
of
but
Fighters.
Isn't it?
King of Fighters, the white guy is called Kyo Kusanagi.
To me again, I just love taking it back to the fact that it looks like a CW show, except like one of the ones that didn't get picked up after the pilot.
True.
All right.
And I'm sorry. No matter how you dress it up, that's what it looks like. It's like, oh, this was a pilot that got passed.
No, the only thing I can say about this is that from looking at it and trying my hardest to not rip my eyes out of my sockets, I can see how this will work for Netflix. In the sense that for people who haven't seen Death Note, even though it's on the service...
I was gonna say it's on there though. The actual show.
I know it is, but people who haven't seen that and just don't
But
like people who just don't
watch
like
cartoons
anime.
because cartoons are for kids.
It's not just cartoons, it's anime.
Okay.
Anime has a stigma about it already. But for that, people who don't know the subject matter, I can see how people will get into this. And then they'll see the subject matter and then go, what the fuck did I just watch before that? Why did I not just watch this originally? This is so much better. There you go. That's all I have to say on that.
I think I kind of see what you're saying. My hope is that people would at least watch enough, or at least get to the point where they don't just like where the show's so bad that they won't even touch the anime afterwards. Where they're just like, oh man, that was terrible. I don't want to watch the anime.
I genuinely think that people
I can't
will
argue
enjoy
with
the
this.
show that don't know
Let's
about
change
Death Note.
speak, please.
Yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
The live-action Japanese Death Note is not very good.
It's not. Yeah.
Third, Willem fucking Dafoe as the Shinigami.
I will say, yeah.
See, that's the problem, is that he's not actually acting, he is voice acting. And there's always a huge difference, because there's been a lot of
Fuck you!
terrible
Ryuk
shows.
was the only good thing about that trailer. Ryuk was the
There have been
only
lots
good
of good
thing.
terrible shows that have like
Badass.
some decent voice acting, and it is not enough.
But also, they're portray him in a way that he is visually interesting by not showing too much.
Mm.
Low budget.
But
Yeah.
low budget can be an advantage when done.
I agree.
right.
I agree. I don't think it's going to play out that way in this case.
I don't think this show will necessarily be good because there's some degree. There's also a ridiculousness about that anime. The whole "I'm 12 steps ahead of you." Oh yeah, well I'm 25 steps ahead of you. Watch as I eat these chips and sparkles float around my head.
To be honest, when it comes to Death Note, I watched the first season, gave up, and then watched the last episode. So like the first season of Death Note's great, but then when they reset everything, I was like, I can't do this. And I
No.
watched the last episode, which is the best episode of the entire show.
Go back and watch it. Go back. No, I have. That'll be a different topic for a different
I
day.
watched until the big spoiler.
The big spoiler. What one? Let's just spoil
Yeah.
it. Fuck it. Why not?
when the character dies.
Oh right. Yeah.
See, that's the one thing. That's the one thing I like about the actual live action version, which I haven't seen, but I read the synopsis, and it was basically that they changed what happened to Elle, because that to me was the biggest jip of the entire. And then they bring in the two, like,
no.
More.
They bring in, was it Mello or the other weird kids?
Mello and Ear.
Yeah, and it's like, gosh, give me a break.
I will say the kids weren't that great, but they, it's just the initial shock of them that kind of puts you off them, and then you start getting on with the story, and they work.
Yes.
Like,
they have too.
I might disagree with that, but I love the first season.
You haven't finished it.
I would have loved to have seen. To me, Death Note was great up to the end of season 1, and to me, it was like the story should have ended there. And the minute they like reset the stakes, I immediately lost all tension and interest in the story.
No,
that's personal, and it is what it is for me. But like I was eating it up.
In that show too, though.
Say what?
There's like some crazy luck, and there's some straight up bullshit in that show.
I was gonna say
don't get me wrong. I really enjoy that show.
There's some Deus Ex crappina going on in there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just make it clear.
But we shouldn't like put it on like this amazing pedestal and say, well, this show couldn't possibly hold up in any way. We don't know yet. It's a trailer.
I'm sorry, that acting. I'm sorry. I'm calling it. That acting.
The acting. Elle, yes, I give you that. But everyone else seemed fine. The only thing that to
Elle
me
is a weirdo.
Yes, but he just didn't. It doesn't feel right. Like knowing literally the only thing that ruins this for me is the fact I know Death Note beforehand. I just can't. I can't get to like it because
I have
it's
a friend.
wrong.
I have a friend, and I think you guys will like this. I have a friend. He's a really good friend of mine, and he said he had a great idea for this. In my mind, this was a spin-off of Death Note, and it beats the pants off of this crap.
Okay.
His version of Death Note, which was fantastic, is it was basically going to be called Death Scroll, because he was going to take it all the way back to medieval Japan. And the whole thing was going to take place, and it was going to have the same kind of like, the same sort of like Death Note side of universe, and the same sort of Shinigami stuff, but it was going to be kind of like in medieval Japan, and the character who found this Death Scroll, and so like, it was going to basically play out in that era, in that scene, and play out with all of those ramifications. And instead of having sort of like modern day technology, we can look up somebody's face, like on the internet or whatever, like if you wanted to kill someone, you were going to have to like hunt them down to see them, and like it'd be like spy networks and all this sort of like intrigue going on with like even with politics of like of how this would work out. And I was like, oh yeah, I'd watch that, I'd read that.
I think the only problem with that, just with the lore, I guess, is that it's kind of implied that the Shinigami have always just had these books, and that's why they exist.
Right, and it's like, but again, if we're talking about if you're gonna reinterpret the story, like he was just gonna be reinterpreting the story just in terms of like medieval Japan, and I'm like,
but that definitely feels like it could very well just be like Game of Thrones with a Death Note.
Yeah,
which would be really cool.
It could be cool. Oh, I'm not arguing it couldn't.
Yeah,
be cool.
exactly. So, like I said, I think if you're gonna reinvent things, do something like that. Just reskinning it a little bit. To me, it's like it's too much and not enough. If you're going to do some drastic reskinning of the story, then really go all the way out there, But like this,
Well, they are taking creative liberties with it. Like they're changing a lot of stuff in the way that the actual story worked. So I mean, they are doing their own thing with it.
They're adding some Final Destination in that shit too.
Yeah, I'll watch it. I will watch it when it comes out.
I'm not saying that's a good thing, but I'm saying they are.
And I'm going to watch it, and I'm going to rag on it probably when it comes out as well. But I'll give it a chance.
Okay, so let's.
One last thing about that note. One last thing.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
One last thing. I have nothing against the race of the actor that's playing out, but it feels like they casted a black actor just to make up for the other for Light not being Asian.
I'm just about. I can kind of agree with you there. But
all right, let's move forward.
I'm gonna go with. I hope that's not the case, but it might very well be the case.
Like I said, to me,
expect the
actually, Oi, 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 oy vey. So like
The trailer for Inhumans.
Inhumans also dropped a trailer, which I don't know what I think.
You know
I
what?
felt
I can
like
tell
I
you what I
was
think.
the
I'm
scout
not
cosplay
defending it.
session of Comic Con.
What was that? What did you say?
I felt like I was in the discount cosplay section of
Cosplay?
Comic Con.
Oh, that's funny. It's so true too.
This
I
would have
don't
been
know
way
the
better
characters
if it
that
was.
well. I read one graphic novel ages ago. It wasn't a graphic novel; it was a miniseries. But what I remember visually from the characters, they tried really hard to stay loyal, but it's so low budget.
Yeah.
In that case, it's not an advantage.
It would have been better if Vin Diesel was still Black Bolt.
Yeah, but he's Groot now.
He was Black Bolt in the movie. And it made perfect sense because then he wouldn't be talking. So he wouldn't be like... they wouldn't know. He has one role where he talks and he has one where he doesn't. But, the dude, Black Bolt, the king, he always looked like he had to poop. That was his thing.
Hey man, when you've got those kind of pipes on you, you always have
To
to
be honest,
look like that.
how do you? He kind of looks that way in the comics. It's just he's got the face mask, so it kind of covers it up.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Well, he had like a pucker on him, like he was trying to force something out.
I think the intention, and again, I'm not defending it, by the way, but I think the intention is they're trying to make him look like he's always restraining himself, and that's kind of a Black Boldy sort of thing. I'm always restraining the storm inside of me that could obliterate the city with a single word.
The way I like
So I
to think... Oh, sorry.
I think that's deliberate, even if it doesn't come across right. It is a deliberate choice.
The way I like to think about it is that literally how it's going down is that Black Bolt's thoughts are actually as loud as his voice, so he's just always struggling in his own head. Like, that's the way I like to think about it personally, but there you go.
But
Something else to add about the Inhumans trailer?
I'll watch it.
I think the show looks. It's again. Remember we talked about earlier, and we said like the worst thing could be like mediocre. It doesn't look too bad, but it doesn't look that good. I will add this though. If they can do one thing better than the Netflix Marvel shows, I will at least give it that much credit. The Marvel Netflix shows, in my opinion, take so long to get moving that they become really boring for huge spanses. And I'm like, if you could just avoid being boring, that would be great. Because holy cow, some of those Netflix shows just take. It's like I'm watching this film for like she shows for like
4
12
episodes long each season.
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
it's like
they have
hours before anything happens.
they have the benefit of having people with interesting powers, at least. The stuff to do, and it does look like there's gonna be stuff happening, like pretty much all the time, except from conversations and shit. But the
last thing I'll add is that I hope that they go with is it Maximus? I hope they go because he's supposed to be like a mad scientist. His inhuman powers, like he can invent crazy things. And he was usually the character who'd invent like crazy robots and crap. And I'm hoping that they give just enough budget to the show. And unfortunately, I don't know if they can. But like, because like the shots from the trailer, it's like people were just wielding weird space guns that just look really boring. And I'm like, oh man, Maximus is supposed to be doing like crazy like robots and crap. And I'm like, and that's sad because like he's supposed to be the mad scientist. Yeah, exactly.
I want to know if they're going to actually address the problem with Lockjaw, or if they're going to gloss over it.
What's the problem?
Oh, that he's like actually like a person or something?
He's a human. He was essentially a human being before he went through Terrigenesis and turned into a dog. So imagine being a man and then you get turned into a dog.
There's no way There's no way that goes into the show.
I don't know. I can see them doing something with it. Just for the sake of it.
If they do it, I hope they like break your heart. I really do. It's like this dude was like they're all their friends or whatnot, and now he's like a big dumb dog, and maybe he had like a wife or something, and she's like, my husband's a dog now, and
it would be clever. I think it would take a very talented production to make it happen right, and to do it without it coming across like so dumb.
The feel that I got is CW. The DC shows in CW look more professional than that. It's the same problem I have with Agents of
Tell
S.H.I.E.L.D.
them a little high. But yeah, the CW shows do look better. At least from that trailer. It might get better.
It might.
The first trailer, but yeah.
I mean, you have to keep in mind that this was gonna be a movie beforehand, and then it just,
Then they're like, huh, Inhumans just aren't as interesting as X-Men. Who would have thunk it? Everyone since the 90s.
Sad but true. Sad but true.
Yeah.
I was also going to say that if it got downgraded to a show from a movie, that might also reflect somewhat in how it comes off. It'll be like, oh, we had the scene planned originally, and then no budget.
They're like, we can't get Vin Diesel anymore, but we got a guy who looks like he's got a poop.
No, he's shouting so loud in his head that he just can't put a normal face on. That's what it is.
He does at least have some
Shouting so
gravitas.
loud in his head, he's scaring the crap out of himself, so he's just to keep it in.
I do like that he has a certain gravitas towards him. He looks kind of like imposing, and that's kind of nice.
No, I get you.
I'm trying to give them as much credit as I can.
Imposing if you don't want to be near someone who's about to crap themselves.
Does
Man.
anyone want to be near someone who's about to crap themselves?
Oh,
Exactly.
Oh my god.
that's why he's king, because everyone's like, nope, I'm not gonna
touching
argue
that
with
shit.
him, because this will happen.
We turn to talk about crap, people. Let's move forward.
Yeah, it's the best crap chat.
Yeah, I know. Well, actually, that's
Funny news.
it's getting kind of late for me. I might actually have to call it a night.
Oh, at least stick around for the funny news, Logan. You can get a little giggle before you go to bed.
All right, I will stay for a giggle.
Go for it. I don't have any funny news,
Alright.
so
I
Me
have
neither.
one.
Oh wait, I got
I
one.
have one.
you can trust on Patricia.
Man gets hit by a bus, walks it off straight to the pub.
Oh, I saw that on TV.
Where
It
was this?
crazy.
Where was this?
A man was struck by an out-of-control bus but managed to walk it off and head straight to the pub. Video footage from Saturday morning shows Simon Smith, 53, as he is hit by a purple bus in Reading, England. Smith is
Alright.
catapulted across the sidewalk as debris fill the street. It's gut-wrenching moment and one that you expect no result in a trip to the hospital. But no, looks like everything's fine. This calls for a beverage. Smith casually dusted himself off and marched himself straight to the Purple Turtle Bar, according to the Guardian. No arrests have been made. Reading buses told the Telegraph that the driver has been taken off the road pending an investigation. Smith only suffered minor bruising. I saw the video. The guy literally, he's catapulted about 5 meters ahead.
He gets it like
I'm watching it right now.
And the bus simply pushed him closer to the pub door.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
the bus hit like a pole or something, so like shards of wood are
Yes.
like flying all over the place. It is
Wow.
crazy.
You underestimate a man's need for the pub,
I-
especially in
There's
Reading.
nothing that comes between a man and his booze.
I'm just gonna go out on a limb here and say this guy was already half cut. I mean,
Pretty sick.
priorities kind of heading to the pub after you get smacked by a bus. And I mean, it is in England, so
I imagine he was like, I'm
Alright,
going to need
Logan.
like 12 to go. Oh wait, one more. Did you
Okay.
guys see 21 Jump Street?
mm-hmm.
Did you guys see Men in Black?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They're going to combine them to make Men in Black 23.
Oh
Wait,
my
what?
god.
What?
Men in Black 23. Taking the two guys, 21 Jump Street, they become agents for the Men in Black.
Oh my god.
This is a movie that is going to happen. And I am
Oh.
stoked.
I'm really excited.
I give up. I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
No, yes, you do, Logan.
Okay,
Yes, you
alright,
do.
guys.
Next, you need
Logan has
Starsky
to
and
call
Hutch
it
to
a
become
night.
agents in the 70s.
Let's say goodbye, Logan.
Oh my
Goodbye,
gosh.
Logan.
Bye,
Alright.
Bye,
Logan.
Lo.
Next week we'll have the shuttle like normal, so it'll be
Bye,
back to
bye,
normal.
Grandpa Logan.
Wait, I know. After this, it's like you'll probably like say, "Oh, Logan, we're gonna be recording on Thursday," and then everyone will change. No, we're recording on Wednesday.
No, it's definitely it's Never time stamped. It's always Thursday. Everyone knows now. It's Thursdays.
I was making a joke that you didn't want me back.
No, of course you're coming back. You better now. You're in it now.
Logan will be back. Logan will be back. He's,
Okay.
he's stuck with us from now on.
You've signed the
Looking
oral
forward to it.
Skype contract. You need to stick in
Are
there.
you still going to title this one "Logan Loves Overwatch"?
No,
or
it's,
is it?
oh wait, no, that. Oh, thanks for reminding me.
I'm gonna go with Logan's Grumpy Grandpa.
I was going to
Old
call
man
it.
Logan.
Actually, I was
Old
going to
man
call
Logan.
it Logan's
Old man
Magical
radio
Mystery Tour.
voice. All right. Well, I'll see you guys later.
I will see you later.
Okay.
Logan.
Bye, Logan.
Bye. There we go. Now we got the Skype little in the podcast.
Just for
All
me.
right. What do you do next? Let's go for Elijah Dusk.
Well, that's the logical next step. So, let's see. Is there any thoughts from you guys actually? From now that you've had a week to digest how it went down last week. Honestly, we're this long ahead. We're this long over now. We might as well just keep it going until it logically concludes.
If you're still listening,
They'll still be listening. You know, people listen to long podcasts.
Or we'll split this one in
thoughts
two.
about what?
We're not splitting it in two. It's not happening. Once it's edited, it won't
You know
be
you
as
want.
long. It'll be fine.
You know you want to.
No, I'm not gonna. It's gonna be one big podcast. I'm not even gonna edit it. It's gonna be start to finish as it was. No, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah. Do you guys have any thoughts on last week's Elijah Dusk?
I thought it was amazing. We should keep it ongoing the way it is.
I mean, discuss plot points. You know, like how Patricia. Since
I
you
wrote it, so I know all the plot points.
of course you know the
so
plot points, but
can't
Patricia.
really help you.
Wait, Patricia, have you read it all?
I read it all.
Never
I
mind then.
helped to edit it.
Never mind then. Never mind then.
You're the
Let's
only one
edit this
outside.
part out.
Well, this is getting
I will
cut.
say no. Wait. I'll say this. I do love Rusty's John Travolta voice as Elijah Dusk's talking voice.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Logan? I don't know what you're talking about. What? Oh. This is getting cut anyway, so. Right, so we're just gonna go right into this then, are we? Actually, question, since this is getting cut anyway.
No cut.
Not
the
this.
whole thing.
I can't have this clogging up
Yeah.
the podcast. Look, I need to ask a question.
And then you will.
No, do you want this to have music in the background of it?
We can have music. We can have big fight music as we're talking right now.
I'm not doing that. This isn't going in. This isn't going in. I'm going to start reading the bit. Right, how does he sound again?
Should I give an update as of last time, or do you want to give an update as of last time?
Oh, no, it'd be cool. The guy who you since you wrote it, you could do like a recap on what happened in your James narrator voice. I don't know.
I'll do my best.
Go for it. Go for it.
All right. Last time, Elijah Dusk met with an old friend, found out most of his friends are dead and demons are back. This time, he's drunk and headed towards the crime scene. Now, we return to Elijah Dusk.
The building was a dump. Of course it was, the west side. These parts of the ruins haven't even been renovated yet. We stepped out of the car and walked up to the chipped stone steps. The building outside showed a century of slow decay. It leaned to the right like a drunk looking for a wall. The room inside appeared to have been struck by a natural disaster. Papers and books everywhere. Some of them scattered by the struggle, most put there in some sort of crude attempt at organization. So crude that it would make Dewey's Decimals denounce it in disgust. The room smelled ancient. The smell of stale air, old paper, and dust sent choking tendrils around my throat. A few guardians were standing around the corpse. The uniforms were crisp. This suggested that bending over or crouching down to examine the corpse was out of the question.
Hey, what are you doing, boss? Don't bring a kid in here. This is a crime scene.
I get this a lot, unfortunately. A result of my blended genes of human and Tutheri parents. Tutheri-based aging and slight build coupled with human-based bone growth. I look like a 15-year-old kid, although that's stretching it a bit. Thanks to my mother, I also have white blonde hair and deep blue eyes. And I don't only look like a kid, I look like a young and impressionable one at that. Adam spoke up before I had to, a lot less profanity than I would put in.
Show some respect, man. This is Inspector Elijah Dusk, and he's the one I'm placing in charge of this investigation.
The guy who spoke looked embarrassed, and two of the others cringed away from me. I've been a million drachma right there that they were wizards. Why? I'm a gnome mage, a vampire who could consume the mana they used to conjure. That I would take right from their body and use it with devastating force. Scary, huh?
Alright, everyone out.
I said.
I don't need clumsy idiots or scaredy cat wizards following up my investigation.
Some protested half-heartedly, but I hadn't heard them out, and I got to work. I looked for anything out of the ordinary. Patterns or lack of patterns. I examined the remains. A young woman with a strong look of surprise on her severed head. Her skin was old, wrinkled and creased by a life of exposure to the elements, but she was far younger than her skin told. Her teeth were white and few were missing. I would say she had recently left her adolescence. Her hair was cut close to the skull, a common style in the Western Quarter. One less thing for someone to grab. Walking over her body, I examined her hands. They were soft, without calluses. She didn't pay her bills with hard labor. Her clothing was nice, but eclectic. Most likely lifted from some fancy stores. A tag on the collar confirmed it. Her build was hard and wiry from little food. She was athletic enough that I'd say she wasn't just a thief, but a cat burglar. I then memorized the position of the body, then the marks of the claws that had almost surgically cut through the neck and spine. Once completed, I looked for any left behinds. Lastly, I felt the room's magic, looking for some residue or places where it might be unnaturally absent. The whole affair took 20 minutes. What can I say? I'm an old pro, but when I was finished, I was sure.
Okay, ladies and germs,
I said, calling them back into the room.
It's time to know the whole dirty truth. I must have silence so I can keep my mental mosaic in one piece.
A few nods surprised me. Adam must have been given to my pedigree.
This wasn't a random attack. It was a murder. I knew this immediately by how almost humane the victim was killed. This demon has a handler, because if it were on its own, she would have looked like a raw hamburger. Demons feed on pain, as much as they do flesh and mana.
The guardian with the slag jaw looked a bit green around the gills, but after he took a hard swallow, I continued.
I would say she knew the person because she actually opened the door for him. There was no sign of forced entry, magical or otherwise. The victim was then murdered, and the murderer absorbed the mana produced.
One of the wizards became violently ill. The other didn't look much better. When someone is murdered, it produces a unique form of mana. It's so nasty most wizards can't even get near it. I continued.
The murderer then searched the room and took an object from that desk. The ceiling dust was part of the room, so it's pretty obvious, isn't it? Whoever absorbed the murder mana didn't take it with them, but built some sort of construct with it. I've never seen anything quite like it. I could tap into it and potentially track whoever did this, but the effects would likely be pretty dire for me.
How dire?
Adam cut in. It's told me to clear the urgency of the situation.
Anywhere from insanity to death.
Adam frowned, weighing the situation in his head, before saying,
If you think it's best, it's your decision. I'm afraid not. I have to leave the decision up to you because it's illegal to take or absorb murder magic.
He hadn't remembered the law. Murder magic was rare and gnome mages were even more so, but the law was in the books. I had put it there myself. I could have sworn Adam had aged 3 years and 5 minutes as I watched. I can't blame him. It's a tough decision sending your friend into madness or catch murderers and criminals. He spoke 2 words.
Do it.
And I did. I could taste the mana rich and sweet in the air, but I focused on the dark rotten stain that filled the room. I reached towards it and it became a part of me. I could almost see the threads of the web before I was struck blind. I heard a dripping noise, a ticking noise, and the sound of gentle breathing. Upon slipping out of the sweet moisture of sleep, I came to know who I was. I was pain. Pain permeated me, every cell, every sinew. It was a brutal, steady ache as my body attempted to digest poisonous dark mana. It seemed like years before I realized who I was, when I was in pain, and how I had gotten to this point. I took a few deep breaths, bringing myself under control. There was a burning pain in my arm that soon came to my attention because it was different from the rest. I opened my eyes to see a sterile hospital room, an IV in my arm. The ticking coming from Duro clockwork machinery, a non-magic based method to measure my life signs. I had heard of this machinery before. It was used in areas where there were no trained medical mages. It was also used in cases of particularly virulent curses that grew when exposed to magic. It was a wise move, My powers are at their weakest while I rest. They are always active. I might have unconsciously thwarted magical means, destroying valuable equipment. Adam was sleeping in the chair next to me. He looked exhausted. I had nothing to tell him at this moment. My body was too confused, too in pain to read anything clearly. I wanted to go home. It was a deep, unsettling urge that I needed to follow through with, whether he would allow me or not. I pulled on the IV, tore the sleeve off my disposable gown to stop my bleeding. The Doro machine was a bit more of a challenge. If I pulled the piece of machinery away from me, it would most assuredly start setting off alarm bells. I looked around the room. There had to be something I could use. I spotted a small teddy bear, I know attached to it, from Sarah. Just too sweet for words. Once again, she'd save my neck. I jammed the bear between the bell and the hammer, muffling any sound it would make. I moved down the hall, my hand clenching the back of the gown closed to keep some modesty and decency about me. I approached the front desk. "Excuse me?" I said to an older matronly-looking nurse at the front desk. "I would like to have my belongings and go now."
Hang on, hon,
she said sweetly, then continued talking to another nurse, leaving me standing there with her little ass-eye heads hanging out to the world. I sighed and hopped over the desk. The woman looked startled and began arguing, but I had already found my positions. My gun, the first among them. With that and my ID, the arguments ended. I dressed, not bothering to take off the gown. As I walked out, I heard the woman mutter something. It was about the trouble with the younger generations. I would laugh, but the pain drained the humor from me. I managed to mutter,
No right, no respect for their elders.
in the part 2.
Unfortunately, Patricia is not with us right now. She's not dead. She just left.
Yes.
She's got things to
Yes.
do. So, that was Alleged Dusk. And this was the podcast, finally. It's going to be a long one this time round, so hopefully people if you stuck into the end, leave a little comment and say, look, stuck into the end. And I'll comment back to you
And
and
then
go,
say-
look at that.
Then you can say, I want it twice as long, or please don't ever do this to me again. I have better things to do.
Tell us all about how Logan makes you feel good inside as well. That'll be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Build
right
up
now-
confidence.
Yeah.
Tell him how sexy his voice is.
Of course. Tell
His
him how
real
his real
not
voice.
1940.
Yeah. I don't know who that guy was. Just came in out of nowhere. Logan appeared. It was crazy. But yeah, I think from that it's good night from me and it's good night from him. He doesn't watch 2 Ronnies. Don't know why I bothered doing that. Yeah.
Hey, good night.
See you later.
Take your medicine, get some sleep.
We love you.
Love you. All right.